Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Unboxed, the podcast where we unravel the heart and soul of branding, marketing, and technology. I'm your host AJ, and today we have someone with us who have a wealth of experience in the field of communication and marketing. She's the founder of MarketBuzz International, a local PR firm, and a dedicated contributor to SME 10X, where she shares insights on industries, people, and technology. With a career spanning over 30 years, she's been the driving force behind the success of various SMEs in the region and played a pivotal role in launching new products and services. She's also deeply passionate about helping tech-focused B2B business with PR and communication. Please join me in welcoming Mita Srinivasan. Thank you for joining us today, Mita, and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I'm excited. I'm interested.
I hope the intro was okay.
That was a bit overwhelming. I sort of sometimes get taken aback when I see that kind of intro. But
right.
Yeah, you're very kind.
Thank you. So, Mita, we spoke a couple of days back, and I want to start off with that. Because you are a veteran in the PR space, and there was something that that we talked about that caught my attention, and you said during our conversation that PR is not what it used to be. It's evolved, it's changed. There's a lot more, because when generally I can understand, I can relate to what you're saying, but generally when people think about PR, they're normally thinking about traditional press or something around those lines. So in your own words, can you describe what you meant when you what you mean when you say that PR has evolved? I would just like for you to explain it in a little bit more detail.
So PR per se has not evolved in the sense that the essence of PR is the same. PR is about managing your reputation and the public perception of who you are as a business or a company or a person that you want to portray. What has changed though is how we get there. Normally, it was always about media relations. We're absolutely on the top of the list. It's still quite an important part of that topic list. But what has changed is the kind of list that we have, the kind of platforms that we use for this. And so your way of reaching out to your target audience, to the people that you want to have that conversation to, you don't have to just use normal media. Mm-hmm. Anyway, you can use your social media platforms, you can use it and not do a sales pitch. You're talking PR. So we're talking about things that matter. Your image, your messages, your key ethics, things that you stand for.
And something you talked about, yes. Sorry to cut you off, because when something that we talked about just now before the show is, you said even customer service is PR, even sustainability. I mean, like any initiative that you do.
Yeah, we forget that our PR spokespersons are not just the guy who owns the business or girl who owns the business, but also the people who are in your team. They represent you when they go out in their societies. That represents your company. People might say, you're doing business with people, but you also know who that person represents. So that person represents your company. Are they talking the right thing? Are you informing them? That is PR. Are you keeping your team informed of things that you're doing with your business? Do they know everything that you're doing? Are they behind you? Do you need to keep them? Even more for things like businesses like startups, etc. You have a very up and down tough schedule anyway. If you don't have your team behind you, being your advocates as well out there, they don't have to talk to the media. The media needs to be only the persons who are qualified to do it, to talk to the media. But when you're talking to the rest of the community as far as PR is concerned, it's important. You need to have PR needs to be so many different levels now, so many different layers. And you've got to make sure when you have a marketing campaign or anything, you need to understand what message are you sending with
Exactly. Touching upon what we do, branding. So essentially this is, I can clearly understand what you're trying to say, because when it comes to branding, building a strong brand culture, making sure that your people, are aligned to your values, they speak the same language, they connect on the same lines. It's crucial, because even when we talk about, it's not something that you can train. They need to believe in your cause or your
Absolutely.
Yes.
And this is what, so in PR we have what we call internal communications, which is within your team and within your thing and your little ecosystem. But we also have external ones, which is your media, your social media, all of that. So PR has to be aligned on both levels. And before we only had media, people had things like, print media. I remember a long time ago when people used to say, but it's online, I want it on print. Print doesn't, I'm sorry, print is dying.
Yeah.
I
just figured that out when you said you don't have your business card.
There's no point, is there?
Yeah. I mean it is true, and the conversation of the business card led us to sustainability, and then we talked a lot about sustainability, because and this is something I want to touch upon, because when working with brands, something that every brand want to communicate is that they're a sustainable brand, but they really rarely know what sustainability means. They just want to jump on the bandwagon because it's a hot topic right now, and because of that, the word sustainability itself has lost some of its, people don't really understand what it means anymore. And when you say, and then we talked about how, sustainability is not easy as a brand or a business. I'm sure you understand there are costs involved. If you are a sustainable brand and if you stick to sustainability, there are costs in terms of production. If you're producing, if you're manufacturing something, there are production costs, the sourcing of materials, the process itself has to be sustainable. The carbon footprint has to be, has to be taken care of. And that's what led us to this conversation, right? And this is also part of people are using sustainability just as a PR tool, or image building, but they really don't believe in it.
Yeah. So people are getting smarter these days. Okay, so when it comes to PR and stuff, things like sustainability is very, very key at the moment, because your target audience that's out there. There are more and more people that are conscious now of sustainability, and that doesn't necessarily mean just climate change. It means how well are you using your resources, because that means that you're saving money. You're saving resources, you're saving money, you're saving the climate, you're reducing your footprint because you're making better. It's what we call the circular economy. It's very much part of sustainability. But what businesses don't realize, it's a tick box, but in the long term, it will also going to help the planet. It helps your brand. It helps the visibility of your reputation of what you're doing there, and the next generation of customers that are out there. They are very conscious of the fact that we are not leaving a planet in distress to them.
Exactly.
And so their loyalties are going to be with people who have a sustainable program, who can prove that they are being judicious with their resources.
Exactly.
And that's what it is. And that's good PR as well. It's not a question of just writing a press release and sending it out.
Yes.
But you have to practice what you preach.
Exactly.
You have to deliver on what promises you make.
Exactly.
And it makes business sense. As a business owner, I think it makes sense.
True.
Because if you're making better use of your resources, you're saving yourselves money and time, and then that can be used for something else that you want to really do.
True. And this is something that we have this exercise, like when people say, or when companies or brands come to us and say, oh, we want to be seen as a sustainable. So we ask them to define, like, what does sustainability mean to you as a brand? How do you define sustainability? Is it just about cleaning beaches and putting pictures on social media, or does it mean more than that? Because it's a commitment that you have to make, and it's a long-term commitment and has an impact.
Absolutely.
So that's basically what we try to educate them. And then, because if that is part of your values, or if that is part of your brand, you really need to be serious about it. You can't just use it for the sake of using it, right?
Yeah, it's not a box ticking exercise.
Yeah, true.
At least not anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Not at the state the planet's going.
Mita, you worked with a lot of B2B brands, and that's one area that you really specialize in, as opposed to B2C. And you focus a lot on the tech side of things, I believe.
Yeah,
right?
I started with a lot of tech businesses, yes.
And I'm sure you've helped them with their communication, with their image, and all everything related to that. What one pain point where I see is like when I go to a website, there's so many companies doing so well. But if you go to their website, if you read their messaging, if you read their what they have to say, it's just it's some copywriter writing something that is overused, recycled. I don't think the owner even reads what is written on there.
Probably not.
Yeah, exactly. So how important is clear business communication effective important for a business?
Oh, you've touched on one of my favorite bugbears, websites. Seriously. I mean, a lot of these businesses do not align what they put on their website with what they really do. They don't actually, when it comes to media as well, for example, a media journalists want to do a lot of research. They go to the website and they can tell when it's just fluff.
Oh, yeah.
And there's no substance.
Makes your job so difficult, right?
It's their jobs as well, so difficult. You want to get PR out of this thing.
Yes.
You don't have to put a whole story out there. But you need to put stuff that really is mean. That passion needs to come through.
Yes.
That passion for your business, for what you stand for, what you deliver, needs to come through. You need to be able to make sure that you empower, that it's easy for them to find out information about you. And website is one area of interface with people. People are on social media, but don't have complete information and profile filled out on their LinkedIn page, for example, or Twitter or Instagram. How do people get in touch with you? Nobody knows how to do that. That's bad PR.
Exactly.
If people can't get in touch with you to find out more about who you are and what you stand for, what are you doing? You don't have to be selling to people all the time. That's the other thing that I have a bugbear about. They communicate on their social media and on their website, and all they're doing is just selling all the time.
Yeah.
That's not good PR.
Yes.
You need to be able to talk about, share information, share updates, look at blog posts which talk about things that you feel passionate about that you can actually do that benefit people. And that will bring you the right kind of PR and the right kind of people as well.
Exactly.
And that's very, very, very important as well.
Yeah. One thing I really liked about our discussion last time was when I talked to you about personal brands and do you work with brands that basically image building. You mentioned that I don't work unless I know the person inside out, because that's really important for me, and I really appreciate that answer.
It's an important part of being PR client as well, even with brands. For example, for me, I'm very particular that I will never work with competing brands. It's not fair, because as a PR agency, you have to learn so much more information because you're a consultant.
Exactly.
You can't have conflicting clients in that particular space.
True.
You need to be able to support that client, be able to help them to master their areas. I would never take a conflicting clients unless, even if I had something, it just doesn't work right, because there's a lot of information that's there, and if they're in competition, it's not fair to either of them, right?
True.
And and I also, it's a partnership. When you're a PR thing, you need to have an element of trust, and that's why that personality, ethics, and that rapport is very, very important.
And that's what I really appreciated when you said that, because that shows how authentic, how you approach your work in a very authentic way, and I really appreciate that. One thing I want to touch upon is when it comes to PR or when it comes to image building, we always think that we have to push content, we have to be genuine, we have to talk about things. But what about something that is the opposite? Like, for example, I'll just give you an example. Last year during the Oscars, there was an incident where Will Smith went and smacked Chris Rock on the face, and millions of people around the world were watching, and so it was kind of a nightmare situation, unexpected. It was not in the script. What is that? Is it a good PR or a bad PR? And if it is a bad PR, how do you manage? It's kind of a crisis, right? How do you manage that?
It's called crisis comms, and that's part of the thing, is that
Yes.
we need to have a strategy for emergencies like that. Yes. And in those cases, the first thing that a lot of brands want to do is run away and hide. That doesn't work. You need to have be honest, be approved. The thing, if it's something that requires a legal thing, then yes, you need to rely on your legal. But you need to have a proper statement. You need to be genuine when you come to reacting to this, and that's very, very important when it comes to crisis communications. I had a client a long time ago when I was in the early stages of my business, and unfortunately, because for whatever reason, one of his co-founders, it was his brother, was connected to that whole scandal that came out of Malaysia. If you remember, the bomb baths,
exactly.
There was a massive thing. One of those brothers was actually one of my clients, the client there. And so I was getting chased by a lot of international journalists, and I told my client very clearly, you have to give me a statement that I can give to them. I can't keep fobbing them off, because the problem is that what people don't realize is that when you're in a crisis, if you do not give a clear statement to the media, they're either going to look around and see what other people are saying from your company, and there will be a few of those, which is not going to be from the horse's mouth, or they're going to very plainly put down over there. If you see a newspaper that comes up and says so-and-so person has declined to comment, what do you say? They're hiding something.
Exactly. And
that's the opposite of what you want as a thing. So it's always better to have a clearly crafted comment. Make sure you deal with it head on and do it properly. If you need legal advice, get legal advice, but make sure you have a statement. Do not do the no comment thing, unless it's absolutely you have no comment. then there is no thing. But usually with something like this, we all have a comment, right?
Yeah,
but we make sure that it's in the best interest of the company.
True. We had a very interesting client, I think 2 years back. I think some of my team members will remember it. So he was, I don't want to disclose which company he was working with, but he was a very, very, very senior person in a top-notch airline in the region. And the thing was, he was working. He's always been working in the airline industry, and then he was moving on from his current job to another airline. But the only challenge was when you search his name, everything that comes up on Google, the first page of Google, is about how he laid off so many people in his previous job. So he came to us with this situation, and then we did some SEO stuff to push some good stuff about him. Is that the right way to approach I'm just asking you as an expert.
Well, the thing is that you can't run away. In this digital age, I always tell clients is that don't put something out there that you're going to regret. You got to think about that kind of stuff, because they stay. This time in digital age, whatever I've done 10 years ago is still online. If it was digital, it's still online. It's going to happen. And depending on how many people clicked on it, it'll go up in the rankings, right?
Absolutely.
And people are morbid. They love controversial stuff. So they'll go and so those stories always get missing. You can't do much about it. It's there, whether you like it or not. So what you've got to be careful is be careful now with what you're doing. And for companies, it's even more. You need to be careful about how you say it, what you say it. That's why when we talk about talking to media, we always talk about having somebody who's media trained. That you make sure that the person says what is right and what is verified. You don't just pluck numbers out of thin air, because that's going to come back and bite you if it doesn't come through.
Except if you're Donald Trump, I guess.
Yeah, but it comes back to him and you don't care. He doesn't care what he says.
So, one thing I want to touch upon is something that is very, I'm passionate about technology, and I think you are in the technology space as well. What's happening? There's a lot of disruption happening. There's a lot of rapid evolution of technology, and especially we have ChatGPT. We have a communication team, and they're also kind of skeptical on what's happening with this thing, what's happening out there. So, what do you say to basically people who are in jobs that that you feel that ChatGPT can will have a significant impact on in the near future? How do you address that?
Well, the thing is, ChatGPT is not the only thing that's around. I mean, ChatGPT is the one that we all talk about, but there's lots of other tools out there. Bard has it, a whole bunch of them. It's here, whether you like it or not, it's here. So the idea is to embrace it and make the best of it. Don't let it dictate everything to you. For me, at the moment, it is still learning. It's still learning from everything that you feed in. So as I said, we say garbage in, garbage out. So if you put in rubbish prompts, you're going to get rubbish out of it. But what I would say to a lot of people who can, it's a great tool to do research, to create outlines of something that you want to work in. But fill in and take the missing to do the research, to make double check, to look at other places, to look at external sources, to make sure that the information that's in there is properly verified and checked before you actually use it again. You see what I mean? I would say absolutely you embrace it. I would embrace everything, but embrace it before you use it in the company. Maybe use it as your personal, so you feel comfortable with it. You could feel confident with it. Build your confidence, build your thing, create the stories, and then realize, okay, you know what, this I can work. Then do it with one or two examples with your business before you actually start using it again. But I would say absolutely embrace new stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm of the same opinion as what you're saying. And one of the challenges that we are facing is clients are coming back to us and saying, oh, I found this, like this is what ChatGPT is saying. What is your take? So they're actually everybody's using ChatGPT or similar tools, AI tools that is out there in the market. So it becomes this is something that every company, every person has to think, evaluate, and understand, and then see how we can navigate this. And I really believe in what you said, and I'm really aligned to what you said. Is you have to embrace it, and then you have to fill the gap, because AI is not perfect. There are still mistakes. Of course, maybe in someday it'll be perfect, but as of now, I think. It has gaps, and that's where you bring in your emotion, you bring in your expertise, and then fill that gap.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So this is one of the things that I always say to some of my clients, even when I'm picking a client I wanted to sing. Is that client employing me because of my expertise, in which case they should let me do my job. They do theirs. I would not interfere in their business, running of their business, because they know their business in and out, the same way I do it. The same thing with ChatGPT. If you're creating content in there, yes, you have to trust it to some extent, but you've got to trust yourself. Because at the end, it's your name that is going to be behind that piece of content that you put out there. And if it doesn't resonate, and if it's not correct with you as your personality, because all of us have a personality, right?
True.
And that's what needs to be. It needs
Even
to be
brands
original.
have personalities. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. And quite often they take on the personality of whoever the founder is and whatever their cultural ethics are for the business, right?
Exactly.
And so that needs to resonate through it. And the only person that can do that, thankfully, is still the human, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the human element needs to be in all of it.
True.
But embrace technology.
Yeah.
Why not? If it's there to make your life easier.
You can close your eyes, but it's going to still be there. I mean, you open your eyes, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, I guess I don't have any more questions. Thank you, Mita, for joining us today. It was wonderful. It was really lovely talking to you. And I hope we can have you some other time for another episode.
Absolutely, always. That was fun. I enjoyed that. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Made me laugh as well.
Thank you guys for tuning in. And our podcast is available on all major platforms. Don't forget to subscribe, and see you in the next episode.